Arr, grog.
Hey everyone, it's the Sideshow Podcast with me, Peter Fickling, Keri Walbus and Matthew Weir. Well, I'm back, refreshed after yet another week of not listening to the Archers. Guys, how you coping?
I think I need a week off soon.
I'd highly recommend it.
I thought you were going to say I need a wee.
No, I don't. I've taken care of that in good time for this recording. Don't you worry.
Well, okay, let's get shite talk out of the way. Since we're talking about Keri's bathroom problems, let's, okay, insert jingle.
There she blows.
Shite talk.
Keri, how are you doing? Please tell me the dehumidifier's gone.
No, it hasn't.
God.
The drain people, they came last Friday and they said, no, still not dry enough. And I've still got the blue Lilo thing in my kitchen. But this implies that we're sort of sitting in wetness, and we're not. It's visibly dry, but underneath, deep down, not dry enough. So we've had it on all bastard week, and they're coming on Monday to hopefully take it away.
What you need is the most ferocious heat wave that Britain's ever experienced.
Yeah, funny that, isn't it? That's been happening the last 2 weeks, and still we're not dry enough. So the torture goes on.
The torture goes on, Keri, including an advert.
What was particularly tortuous for you two this week? Which was the most ridiculous thing?
I feel for me, it's the introduction of the George as a real wrong'un. And I sort of appreciate what the scriptwriters are trying to do. We haven't had an out-and-out baddie in the Archers for a long, long time. So I can see why it's sort of quite useful, but also I'm feeling tired and I don't really want to have to deal with him. So that's mine.
Matthew?
I really like him. You know how there are bad guys that you want to be caught. Obviously, for a long time there was Rob. We get to see behind the curtain what's going on, and obviously the most recent one was Philip Moss. I was just itching for him to get busted and for it all to come out. George, I like this idea of this guy running around causing chaos, committing petty crime. It's just incredible. We haven't heard about him before. Obviously we've heard about him off mic and stuff, but he's obviously been responsible for every single crime in Ambridge, isn't he? He's right under Harrison's nose, and we'll never catch him.
He's fine then, isn't he? He's safe. It's the safest place on earth. There is a difference, though, isn't there? Like Philip and Rob were characters who came into the village. They were introduced as baddies, and you always knew that their time on mic was limited. Whereas George he's baked in, isn't he? He's a Grundy. He's going to be around. He's there forever.
Yeah, I think how he delivers his lines is very good. It's properly snidey, isn't it? He's got that down to a T. And I love how he's like, yeah, I know how to pick a lock. You do this, that, and the other. He's properly on the make for any opportunity to do someone over.
Oh, when he was sticking it to Susan, it was agonizing to hear him kind of manipulating his grandmother, and for her to know that she was being manipulated as well. It was really unpleasant.
Yeah, she did know, didn't she? She did know. She's like, oh, right, okay, you're saying that, are you? And you think, yeah, she bloody knows.
He completely earwigged the conversation about Jean Harvey and Derek Fletcher, hadn't he? So I said last week, didn't I, a couple of weeks ago, that I saw a blackmail story coming with George involved, but I thought it would be Oliver and perceived inappropriate behaviour. But here we are.
Did.
He's doing it with these guys instead. Maybe he's found out about Derek Fletcher's raging cocaine habit, because apparently he lavishes all his money on his nose.
I was trying to out Matthew there, Keri. I was trying to think like Warstradarmus or something, or Narstradarmus or something, but I couldn't quite make it work. But no.
But the worst thing, surely, above the screeching children, babies, the screeching Natasha, was the blackmail idea of the letter.
It was such bullshit.
Yeah, and she was like, it's simply the only thing we can possibly do.
Everything except for walk up to her and have a grown-up adult conversation and say, look, my friend is trying his best to start a new business. If you could, not take this rather minor incident and use it to persecute him, that'd be great.
Do you think they actually did cut letters out of the paper like Clary thought, rather than, print it out?
They were going to, but she said she'd scribbled a note, or she'd quickly written a note, hadn't she? I don't think they did do the sort of cow gum and letters. And that's another thing. They did this already with that geezer who was spying through the binoculars. Didn't they?
Kyle.
Yeah, he was pasting
what happened to him?
letters, wasn't he?
Well, wasn't it? No, didn't Helen say that she'd seen him having a bit on the side in his house, and it was Helen that had seen it and reverse blackmailed him to stop being shitty?
Oh, God. But, were there not pasted letters then?
I don't remember there being letters, no.
I think what's happened, Keri, is you've started to go into what feels like a kind of surreal fever dream.
Yes.
And so your imagination is just filling in the gaps, as is appropriate.
Archers is just a soup of madness.
Yeah.
There's
Isn't
the quote
it?
for the show.
Yeah, and Pat's probably made it.
We haven't changed our kind of synopsis for the podcast since we launched it a year and a half ago. So maybe it should be, The Cider Shed, a podcast examining the soup of madness that is.
I must admit, I think I might have slightly altered our bio when Ryan was coming on. So we didn't. So was it?
When we first talked to him, he was like, "So why do you hate Lee?" I was like, "Oh yeah, well we did, we really did."
I think he knew why, didn't he? He would hate a Lee. I think the actor man. He wouldn't knock about with a Lee, would he?
No, but yeah, Lee with his little smashes. I still, as I've said before, I can't get. Lee is Lofty from EastEnders. The kind of the too nice to be true kind of guy. But yeah, it was horrible, and also both grandmothers. Oh, and it was interesting, wasn't it? Was it today they tied it in where you had Susan and Eddie both reading from the same scripts that George had given them, or kind of like parroting the same line?
Yeah, it'll have to remain a mystery. And then Chris was like, "That's what my mum said."
Yeah.
Well, it should be. That's where it dies, because Chris should not have the mental faculties to kind of join the dots and mention it to.
Under the very sick Johnson administration, whenever he did anything, every Tory MP would copy and paste a tweet of support and tweet it out, and that's kind of what the Grunders are doing here.
I have two American friends. They're Cyrus's godparents, and we have a running competition for whose country is being dumber, and they haven't stood a chance the last couple of months. We're absolutely smashed to pieces.
I mean, we laugh, but that's all you can do, isn't it, really? It's too desperate to contemplate the reality of, really.
The Archers or Britain's political system, Keri? Be more specific.
The same, yes. And while we're at it, did you see the energy companies declaring their massive profits?
Big coincidence.
I made a noise like
Chelsea.
Chelsea then.
Should we all have a go at our Chelsea growl? Because you were doing that off air, Keri. Go on, give it one more go.
That was a cow. Go on, Peter.
It's Otto the Bull. He's back. He's after Matthew.
Your turn.
I've got to do Chelsea. Okay, get into character. So, no, what was that? Oh Christ, that was really bad.
We'll let the listeners judge.
That sounds like a noise Prince William might make when visiting a friend.
Okay.
What is that pegging nonsense?
Come on, Keri.
I mean, I know what pegging is.
There you go.
But I know what pegging is, but surely that's all absolute. I was going to say bollocks, but
well, the story is that apparently he's not getting it at home, so he looks elsewhere.
Yeah, but why is pegging involved?
Because that's what he likes, and Kate won't do it.
Yeah,
that's the rumor, isn't it?
As if. Look at him. He doesn't.
I preferred the kind of French way of doing things where, unless it's illegal and affects your ability to do a job, what you do between the sheets is your own. Max Mosley, I'm not a fan of fascists or the children of fascists necessarily, but Max Mosley did a very good job, didn't he, in defending himself when he'd been persecuted by the News of the World for enjoying, what was it, S&M, bondage. And he was like, look, it's absolutely no one's business. It's broken up my marriage. It's embarrassing, but, just leave me alone. I'm done anything wrong.
Yeah, good. And we've covered all current affairs.
So, okay, let me look down my list. Chelsea impersonation, George the Pyro, pegging, tick, 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 tick. One of you's definitely said this while I was away. Where there's light, there's always dark. They always do the kind of the sort of shade and light at the moment. And so we have George, the ne'er-do-well, scheming and plotting, and then you have, innocent genius Brad just trying to get along, being bullied by his sister, definitely not asking Oliver for money.
Yeah, Chelsea's a twat though, isn't she?
Who's going to be on the show soon, Keri? Don't we have a guest coming up?
Yeah, we do. The actress who plays Chelsea. She doesn't write her own scripts, I don't think, so that'll be fine.
Is that her arriving on a scooter just then?
Yes.
Thank you, Matthew. That saves me an edit. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry about that. Don't know.
Or was that her going, "Ooh"?
Yeah.
She does. I mean, this, as you said with George earlier on, Matthew, Chelsea is we've said it 100 times. Chelsea's brilliantly acted. And she's as good at being a twat as she is at being lovable.
She's just involved in everything, isn't she? She's. We'll have to mention this when Madeline's on, but can you think of? She's almost been involved in with every character in the show since coming in it. What, 8 months ago? Less.
Yeah, but how is she getting away with that behaviour in the orangery? Why? How dare she be so vile within earshot of her boss, customers? Why is she so horrible to Brad? I don't know. Still, I feel like I should like her, but I simply cannot after this week.
It was implausible that Freddie wouldn't say, "Okay, your shift's over. Come back tomorrow when you calm down." Because the way that he's being written at the moment, they are sort of giving him some lines where he's supposed to have some steel and should be showing some kind of ability to kind of reflect his high station in the orangery.
He did a really good delivery of the line where he went, "Bear with us, everyone. Technical difficulties."
Yeah.
He's really good. I love him.
It was up there with Sue Cook has pulled out. When he said that.
Yeah. Obviously, it's the script writers. It's not Chelsea. I just think this wouldn't happen. It's one of those where I just don't think it would happen, and I don't like those bits.
No, I mean we don't ask for realism. That would be insanity. But just vague plausibility. Kind of sort of half close your eyes levels of plausibility.
And even to the degree where Freddie went, "You deserve a bonus because you added up 15 people's bills." No one would say that either.
It wasn't like Rain Man. He was just adding up some numbers.
Yeah, God, when you used to work behind a bar without those key fob till things, you had to know huge rounds in your brain, didn't you? And hand over cash change. And I'm not even very good at maths. My mum's a maths teacher, but it didn't really pass down to me. But I still work behind busy bars and I could add up loads of drinks. I'm sure you've done that as well, Matthew. Maybe you have too, Peter. Bar work.
It's shit when the brewery put the prices up by 3 pence, and you're just like, I knew how much 2 Stellas, a Blackthorn, and a Guinness was off by heart, and now I've got to rework it all. I tell you one thing, while we're on the Chelsea subject, they are definitely teasing that something happened with Russ at the rave, aren't they?
Yes. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he gave her his jacket, didn't he? Because her dress T-shirt thing got beer spilt all over it, or Turbo White spilt all over it by a very
Do you reckon there were drugs in his jacket?
Ben. I don't think so, because she was home before, she was home and in bed before Jazza and Tracy went to bed, apparently. I think it's more likely that she's misread the signs from a very loved up Russ. I don't know. But he clearly doesn't remember any of it, does he?
No, because she keeps awkwardly going, "So you don't remember what happened at the rave?" And he casually goes, "Oh no."
I was off my tits.
I've written that in my notes. What on earth do you think is going on there? Has he done something wrong, or did she do something wrong?
I think he was probably... Well, we heard him at the end of the rave, didn't we? He probably just had his arms around and going, "You're ace, Chelsea." And she basically thinks she's in love with him now. Could it all just be coming from Chelsea's side? because Lily did suggest that she thought Chelsea fancied him, and he was genuinely dismissive. I thought of that. Like he just thought,
but isn't that
"What?"
because Lily can tell there's some weird vibe going on between them?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But we don't know what that vibe is.
I'm not saying this to be a dick, but do you care particularly?
I do, because I don't want her to be getting Russ into trouble.
It's not part of the plot that I've managed to get myself kind of fully engaged with. I guess I need to get up to speed because I do care about all of the, perversely, I do care about Lily, I do care about Russ, and of course Chelsea. So it's a bit weird that I can't going to get myself engaged. I think I'm scared of Sol, whatever his name is, coming back in and having to deal with him and Lily kicking off.
Well, if they move to Felpersham, he works for Felpersham. He did work for Felpersham Kitchen, so he's probably going to be around, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a new job. Didn't he have a new job or a new gig or something? He's doing quite well.
But I reckon he's probably in the bright lights of Felpersham, so they might be crossing
I don't
paths.
even know how far Felpersham is away from Ambridge, even though I've listened to this for like 75 years. Would you need to move to Felpersham if you're going to go to college there?
Russ was the reason that she up the first time, so surely she should want him as far away as possible.
He did manage to throw in we just had a bad flat. Your mum was having a nervous breakdown and your brother was in jail. That's probably why it all fell apart, Lily.
Nothing to do with me.
Yeah, not me, Gov.
And not because I spent £10,000 on art materials and sat around in my pants for 7 months.
And didn't let you go out with anybody who was on your course.
Big love for Russ, but actually that was that whole period was a bit... if it was your daughter or your son, if it was your daughter who was going out with Russ and that all that had happened, I don't think you'd have him be giving him a job at your stately home and having him around.
Of course not. I don't understand why Lizzie did that at all. I still love him as a character for all the sort of wrong reasons, like similar to Matthew enjoying George. It's that kind of thing, as we've said before, but absolutely not good for her, for Lily at all.
I haven't disliked him in a long time, probably since that period. But hearing him say quite enthusiastically that he was a fan of the blue tones and ocean colour scene. I'm not a music snob, but I was like, hell, of all the bands you could have chosen. But
that's more of a crime, isn't it, than what he did to Lily, really?
Russ and I were at the same festival, Glastonbury 97. It was an absolute mud bath, by the way. I saw very few bands because I went down with some people from Shepton Mallet that run a sound system. We camped backstage in the comedy area, so you had all the little perks and stuff of being backstage. I did meet quite a few. I remember talking to that very famous comedian whose name I can't remember now, but used to do the Carling Black Label ads. They used to be a duo. And
Hale and Pace?
No.
Listen,
but it was.
You probably met Russ.
I know. I'm trying to remember the name of this actor. Hang on. It's going to come to me in a minute.
The inspiration for us, at least.
Stephen Frost.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know who you mean. Yeah.
I think I chewed his bloody ear off in the bar backstage.
He's now one of the judges on that Pottery Throwdown show.
Is this a joke?
Well, yeah, a bit of a joke. Yeah, anyone who watches that show will realise there's a looky-likey.
Okay.
They're physically very, very similar men.
Oh, I love that you watched that, Peter.
It's the guy who does it, Keith Brynner Jones, his name is. He's one of the judges. He is one of the most likeable.
Is he the guy who cries all the time? I see people mention he cries.
Yeah, he cries constantly, but and it's wonderful.
Maybe what's his face can take his pottery skills there. Will, is it William?
Oh, Will's idiosyncratic pots. My sister's a potter.
Ooh,
yeah. I have to give a plug for her cafe. She's just starting up a pottery cafe.
Nice.
Scottish Borders. I've been helping her with her branding all week.
Lovely. I do like Supergrass though, and I do like Radiohead.
That's the only band I can actually remember seeing because I saw almost nobody because it was just impossible to traverse across muddy fields. I just got sick of it and hung out backstage. But I saw Supergrass. They were quite early on the Friday, I think. Oh. I missed Radiohead. That was just after OK Computer had come out, so that was meant to be like a seminal gig, and I wasn't there. Russ was there.
I do love Supergrass. I met one of Supergrass. I was pushing Mimi in a swing, and he was pushing his little child in the swing next to her in Queen's Park in Brighton. Anyway, we've digressed massively, obviously.
Was he all right?
He was lovely, very nice. The main guy, you know.
That was a joke, but okay.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Being all right. Yeah, so.
Is it Gaz? Gaz. That's
Gaz, yeah, that's it. Aye, soz Matthew.
No, you didn't. That's right. It deserved. It had as much of a laugh as it actually deserved, I think.
Well, I got it and didn't laugh.
It's no solid as a cock.
Yeah. When we have our Cider Shed Hall of Fame, once a year, 3 or 4 jokes just get put up there, never to be used again. It's like in America, they hang the shirts in the rafters as a kind of badge of honour.
I pity the person who has to trawl through to find our Hall of Fame worthy clips, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've only heard them all once. So.
This is episode 69, isn't it?
It is episode 69. Yes, it's the sexiest of all of our episodes. So Russ and Lily, they're taking their, they're still trying to paper the cracks, keep their relationship together. Meanwhile, Alice and Chris are doing the exact opposite. They are happily sliding into the friend zone. I've as I've said many times, I've had enough of Chris and Alice. Please, surely that was the finishing line today when Chris was like, "And I've never been happier."
No, don't forget they've got the naming ceremony on Lakey Hill. That's going to be dragged out, isn't it? And did you hear them say, and I want Alan to do the blessing thing. And Alice said, oh, I thought there'd be someone else we could ask. You know who that's going to be, don't you?
Amy.
Shula. Yeah, Amy, that'd be good.
I reckon it'll be Amy. Because there was, I'd like the father of that girl I shagged behind your back who used to be your best mate to be involved, if that's all right, Alice.
Oh, it's sickening that they're getting on, isn't it? Really horrible.
Yeah, I've had enough. I want a shot of them. It's been, how long has it been since Alice first started, the whole alcohol plot thing started? Just before we started on Dumpty Dum, Keri.
It was post monologues, wasn't it? Or have I got that wrong then?
It was I think it was just post monologue. So yeah, that's about what, two odd years, 2 and a bit years since it started. We've had almost constant Alice and Chris. It's for 2 years.
That is true, Peter. Yeah.
Well, you guys got stuck having to analyse the monologues, didn't you?
I enjoyed the monologues. Okay. I enjoyed analysing it. No one enjoyed listening to me analyse it or enjoyed the monologues, but that's not the point. From a completely selfish point of view, I was like a pig in muck.
I did not enjoy the monologues.
No.
I enjoyed you analysing them.
I mean, it started on a high point when it was David and Ben interchanging, doing their little monologues, and there was that point where Ben confessed that when he was driving around in the tractor with David, he got him to sing Sultans of Swing, but they changed the lyrics to Sultans of Silaging. And I thought, Jesus, this is episode 1.
Oh my God, Matthew, that is imprinted on your brain in a really horrific way, isn't it?
Yeah. Such a good song, though.
What?
Sultans of Swing.
Oh, God.
You don't like that?
I was just about to throw my headphones on the floor. No.
Oh, I think that's I'm not a sort of big Dire Straits fan, but I think Sultans of Swing I can make a bit of room for. But am I now in Blue Tones territory?
Yes.
Oh well, okay, never mind. All right. Well, so how you feel about Sultans of Swing is how I'm feeling about Chris and Alice, and I've had enough. And, and do we have to talk any more about them?
Well, only that Brian and Chris made up, didn't they?
Course, any chance? It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, must mention my love. But it was nice to hear Brian back, wasn't it? He came back because, it's busy times, that he couldn't stay away. And he was like, so what's the news? And Alice was like, well, Adam nearly killed Jean Harvey. He was like, no. What about the divorce? You didn't give a shit about that, did he?
Don't talk to me about Adam.
Yeah. And he's well chuffed that Chris is taking the holiday cottage instead of loads of money.
And he's going to rent it out.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Well, it's his, as he said, as Brian pointed out.
But where will he go, though? I didn't understand that bit, really.
I don't know. I'm more focused on who's going to move in. Who's going to be in that house on the farm property?
Ardil.
Maybe. I reckon Ardil's like stealthily. I know it's been floated before, but I'm starting to think there might be a Hazel Wooly connection there because he's at the B&B with Linda, and Hazel and Linda had quite a barbed back and forth when she came to see her when she was in the village, didn't she, about how the B&B was doing and stuff. I reckon Ardil's got a slow takeover of everything coming.
But this is like Justin money, Hazel money. Like Hazel and Justin can be poor or the richest people on earth, depending what the script writers need to happen. Right? So, you don't get any real sense of how rich they are. Same thing with Brian. Sometimes Home Farm has so much money they could feel like they could buy all of Borsetshire, and then another week, they're forced to move out of the big house. So I sort of, half of me wants you to be right, but the other half kind of suspects that Hazel doesn't have the money. I don't feel like she's rich enough. But am I being stupid?
Well, tell you who is living the high life. Rory's off yachting around Antigua, isn't he?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy the circles he's moving in, says Brian. I mean, is he in Antigua on a yacht, or is he in some sort of bedsit with that woman bothering him all the time?
Yeah, that's true. He's an unreliable narrator, isn't he?
Yeah. And do you and going back to Ardil slightly, I thought you were going to say, Matthew, that you imagine him moving in with Kirsty quite soon instead of being at Ambridge Hall.
Oh, maybe they go to the place that Chris is renting out.
Yeah. Because that's blossoming, isn't it, I think?
Those con artists who have the 3 cups and you have to spot which cup the ball's under. This feels like what they're doing with the houses at the moment. Like, just moving everyone around so frequent. It's like, look over here. That one's on a boat. No, this one's moved in with him. No, that's under jeopardy. No, everyone's scared of them falling down the stairs. No, it's like you're just completely dizzy and they can basically just move anyone anywhere.
Yeah.
So it feels like the whole place has expanded. Like, like you've now got that whole, what's the name of that development that Helen lives on?
Beechwood.
That's the one. It just feels like Ambridge is a lot bigger at the moment. Like the Horrobins were basically off mic for a decade, weren't they? Now there's 4 of them in. You've got Ardil's now a permanent character. Russ isn't going anywhere. It's just expanding. Sol's going to be along soon.
Joy was mentioned this week.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she posted £30 to her non-existent daughter.
To a glove puppet.
Yeah.
Why would she? That's interesting. Why would she post?
30's an odd amount, isn't it?
What's the daughter's name again? Shireen.
Rochelle is the daughter, and it was 30 quid to the granddaughter. I don't know.
Right.
What's the granddaughter's name?
I didn't know it was the granddaughter.
Yeah, it was.
That makes it even sadder. Poor Joy.
I reckon that's just mail fraud. There's no Rochelle. There's no granddaughter. She's just going to be like, ooh.
There was no 30 quid either.
No.
Yeah. I did tweet that. I think, nice one, Joy. Nice try. Sort of, she hasn't gone too far with the amount, has she? She's sort of thought, 50's too much, 30, they might believe me, 20's a bit small.
Have I told you about the breakdown I had in a branch of HSBC when they said my signature didn't match on my driver's license? I was trying to get 30 quid out is the relevance. And I ended up screaming, not screaming with anger, but with kind of like frustration, going, that's me. I match me. That's a picture of me. I match. He's like, no, but your signature doesn't match. I'm like, yeah, but I'm forging. I can't forge me. For 30 quid.
Oh, did they give it to you?
Yes, eventually the manager had to come over. I wasn't screaming. I wasn't the tall, angry man standing over the cowering woman. I was frustrated and getting shrill and anxious.
They didn't sort of press that button underneath the counter.
No, they didn't. I didn't end up being sort of coshed and dragged out by my feet. No, it was. Yeah, anyway. It was absolutely
Speaking of driving license, Kenton lost his driving license in the flames as well, didn't he?
Yes,
he's old enough. It might have been a renewal, like what you have to have done when you're 80 or something.
You don't have to post it in the letterbox, do you? Surely, don't you do everything online?
Wasn't it mentioned he'd got snapped speeding as well or something? Did I imagine that?
Was that recent? I thought that had happened a while ago.
Yeah, I thought
Was
Toby
it
threw
not?
that in as part of the whole frustration element.
Oh, possibly.
We need to have Toby back.
There was a whole bit I didn't hear at all, which was that until I was reminded of it by looking at tweets and what have you, is that the launch of Grey Gables is now happening in the village hall.
Yeah, that was Oliver. He was chatting to Oliver when Chelsea was having her fit.
You know why? Felpersham's so bloody far away. They couldn't have it in the conference centre.
Oh, probably about 5 people wanted to turn up.
I mean, do you not think? Sorry to repeat myself, but do you not think it's just too much going on at the moment? There's too many little plot lines going on. I can't concentrate. I want just 2 or 3 plot lines, not Alice and Chris, Joy.
Yeah, I agree. And they're not very good ones either, are they?
No, it's all a bit like, I mean, I do, for instance, I'll give you an example. So I wasn't around last week, so I couldn't talk about this, but Ardil, if you said to me, the synopsis was Ardil is going to have a bit of a ding dong with Justin and Lillian at Linda's, and Linda's going to be, still frustrated with Ardil, I would have been like, yes, that's exactly what I want. Like a few, and yet listening to it, I was just like, oh my God, it's all played, it's all too sort of rich and over the top. My brain can't concentrate on changing a nappy, doing the washing up, and various other things, and listen to the Archers. It needs to be simple.
I mean, if either of you two went to a 90s night at a pub, which wouldn't be the worst thing ever to do, and someone like Helen was pogoing, what would you do?
Do I know Helen? Is it someone like Helen, or do I know it is Helen?
You know it is Helen, let's say.
Okay, I put on my latex mask, Rob mask that I always have on me, and scare the shit out of her.
And is this all just one big massive tantrum by Freddie because Vince wouldn't invest in his 80s night? And he's just like, everything I've put my heart and soul into this 80s night, that's it. I'm going to show him. I'm going to do a 90s night. And he just digs out all like these Britpop records.
The fact that he needed someone else to look at it to check I haven't sort of got it wrong. Are these all right? I mean, it either sounds good or it doesn't sound good. Just go with it, Freddie. Have you got no testicles?
Do you want to do a testicular segue?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Talking of lack of testicles, Tom Archer.
Ugh.
Oh, now I'm a bit torn this week.
So are his testicles.
There were some. Yeah, go for it, Keri. There were some bits where he wasn't a complete twat, I will admit.
Obviously, I hate him, but I think that it must feel awful if your wife's screaming at you, like, for God's sake, give the child to my mother. You're getting on my nerves. And he can't breastfeed yet. He might be able to next week. I don't know. And Caitlin is excluding him, and he's shuffled off to help Tony sweep out some yard or other for the winter barley, and was, offering himself to do anything other than go home. And the V-shaped cushion thing which was 30 years old, by the way.
I thought that was evidence that Caitlin was a player back in the day because her V-shaped pillow had years of service.
She said she'd had it since Natasha was young. That's a manky old V-shaped bloody thing, that is. I wouldn't want that anywhere near my newborns.
No, I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, everything has to be clean. With children,
me neither.
Everyone knows that a little bit of dirt is actually going to do them some good, significant good. But when it comes to cot death, like, you're just a fear. You've got the fear of God, haven't you? Sorry, SIDS. Like, some manky old pillow, keep that shit away. All of the weevils and dust mites and shite in there. No. It's you feel guilty, but that's one of the things you buy ready for landfill.
Yeah, I thought that was, one of the wrongest things this week, the V-shaped festering pillow cushion thing. But I did feel for Tom because I thought Caitlin shouldn't be there right now, as we've mentioned before. I think, or perhaps I tweeted about it. When you are a new parent and you need to be in your own bubble with your partner and do your own thing. And yes, visitors can come, visitors can go, but not to have someone living there, bossing you around, that would drive you nuts. You've got to find your own way with parenting in that stage, I think.
Yeah, and just have those moments where you stare at the kid with a kind of like idiotic smile on your face.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also, isn't Natasha supposed to be back at work by now? Easy Keri.
There was that, yeah. And one of the things he was complaining to Tony about was that Caitlin's doing everything for them. You know, she's waking them up at 4 a.m. making a spinach omelette, and she's trying to listen in on the bed. They've turned the monitor off upstairs, so she can't hear them slagging her off mercilessly upstairs. And she does the laundry, and then it just magically appears on the line. So Tom has something in common with Prince William there. Like he wants pegging, but there's no room for it in his marriage.
Yeah, Natasha doesn't eat vegetables. I'm a bit worried about the nourishment that those babies received whilst they were inside her.
Summer Orchard. So, and she's married to the guy from Bridge Farm Fresh, and she hates vegetables.
She's married to a vegetable.
Yeah,
what's that thing? What's that diet called where you just eat more meat?
Keto?
That's the one.
Mm.
Yeah, I did used to work with a guy who did the keto diet and stuck to it religiously, and he lost a shitload of weight. But I never had the heart to sort of say to him, I'm pretty sure there's a payback in about 40 years' time when your entire intestines are going to fall out in one go.
So what is it? It's protein and vegetables, is it?
It's low vegetables as well. But
no carbs, though, isn't it?
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do vaguely remember.
A friend of mine does a modified version of that, yeah. But I think they found a version of it which was a little bit more expansive.
Yeah, farts like a Komodo dragon. That's what I smell.
Well, maybe Natasha does have a Komodo dragon in the house. I heard they had a baby monitor.
Oh, look at that, Matthew.
And it sort of ties in with dragons and whales and that.
Oh, that was exquisite. I'm going to reward an advertiser with a juxtaposition with that. You know, that's a Hall of Fame joke. Come on, round of applause.
Yeah, you deserve a bonus.
Bonus, Matthew.
You're a genius.
Bonus. Put your clothes back on.
2 + 2 is 5.
Keri, do we have anything more to say about Tom?
Well, I barged in with my view on him, and I wondered what your views were.
I now feel that I completely agree with you. And I do feel a bit, maybe it's because I've just been through it all with my little boy. I'm feeling quite sort of mean towards Tom because he was do you remember, this was actually last week, there was a scene where he was trying to make the twins laugh.
Yeah.
Feeling like a twat. And I was just like, oh my God, how stupid are you?
Was that the bit where he said, look, Dad is going to pull a funny face? I was
Yeah.
like, what, you're just going to look at them?
Yeah, they can't even see the end of their own nose, you bell end.
I know, but that was when Natasha snapped and said, for God's sake, you're getting on my nerves.
Yeah, do you know what? Keri, you've completely taught me around, and I feel guilty for feeling saying bad things from him. And also, I hate to admit it, but it was vaguely sweet hearing them all, you know, in the house together, finally having the, you know, the privacy that you were talking about. So Keri, you've taught me around. Okay,
good. But Pat is really passag, isn't she? Passive aggressive lady. How she's now offered. I know it's because Chris made, not Chris.
Tom.
What's he called? Tom, sorry.
That guy we're hating on.
Yeah. I know it's because Tom persuaded her, but Pat should have offered the other grandma a room in her own home.
Well, you said this last week, didn't you?
Yes. So, Pat's horrible.
But do you notice that there is something in common here? I mean, at least Tom has actually gone to them and put this plan together to get Caitlin out of their house. But Natasha's there for a long time, like, I want my mum. And then she can't even talk to her own mum about things that are bothering her. And it's almost like the same line of communication breakdown that Tom has with Pat. He didn't want to, he was kind of scared to tell her that Caitlin was coming in the first place. So I think they both got quite dysfunctional relationships, at least with their mother.
Who hasn't in Ambridge, though? It's dysfunction central, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe Elizabeth has a fairly good relationship with her children.
True.
So that's it. There, done. Okay,
Well
that was
done.
easy. Wasn't
Yeah,
as easy
that's
as I
true.
thought it might be.
Just as a little side note, a friend of mine, Ayers, who I've mentioned before, he of choking on the Kraft cheese slice that he helped himself to from my fridge. He messaged me today to say he'd broken his cider shed cherry this week. He listened, much like some of our reviewers said. I have no idea what you're talking about, but it was enjoyable. And
Oh.
his daughter Flo, her middle name is Seren, so there's a bit of an Archer's connection there.
Okay.
He is of Welsh extraction, I should add.
Brilliant. And Seren, we know now on the Archers, is a ginger, isn't he? She.
She.
I am paying attention. They're both girls.
Didn't one of you say last week that you thought it was a sign of a sort of portent of future personality? Like one of them came first. That was kind of flagged up as meaningful.
They themselves said that, didn't they? That the one that comes first would be pushing their way out, and Tom said, "Yeah, see, I told it would be the girl pushing her way out," and then it just turned out they were both girls anyway, which totally shat on all of that theory.
But we still need to kind of keep an eye on the first one. She's going to be, like George, a troublemaker.
But I can't remember which one the first one was. Can you?
One of them's got a massive head of hair. The first one's Nova, wasn't it? As far as I know.
Yeah, Seren is Star, isn't it? She was the.
I was trying to think of any pop duos where one was bald and the other one had an afro, and I couldn't think of anyone. But I was going to post a photo on Twitter. It deserted me.
We can all have a think about this week. If anyone has any answers, get in touch with us on Twitter. Baldies, what is it? Baldies and Afros, Keri. What's the address to send that to?
At the Cider Shed Pod, please. We've got approaching 2,400 followers now, and I'd like to thank Mrs. Street for her 5-star review, which said, "Elephants and iced buns is definitely a thing." And the title of her review was "Best Reason to Listen to the Archers." So thank you for that.
Ah, very nice. Yeah, there was an uncomfortable pause last week when you said elephants and ice buns are a thing, and I just let it go. You went, aren't they?
Yeah, I liked that because it was as if I'd lost my mind, and I did think I had. So.
And Matthew, ice buns and also lemon slices. You're filling up Instagram and Facebook with your delicious recipes.
I am. I posted the lemon slice to our Instagram account. You can find us there at the Cider Shed Pod, and we are on Facebook in group form, the Cider Shed Podcast. I posted up photos of the lemon slices. Lots of love for those. So tonight I actually posted up the recipe itself. So if anyone wants to go on there, have a go at it. Really want to see how people get on. If you have any doubts when you're doing it, get in touch, and through any of the socials and their
also
messaging.
When you're making lemon slices,
wear just an apron. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, just good luck, everyone. The recipe's up there. Maybe Keri, you post a link out to it on Twitter, because our Instagram is fast approaching 500 people, which, considering it's way behind the other two in terms of time, it's done quite well. And another thing I have to say, with the help of Liam Rayner, who's one of our listeners, we've set up a fantasy football league through the official EFL website. So anyone who's interested in joining the Ambridge Farmers Conference League, we will post a link and the code you need to join that, and you have to be ready for. You have to get your team in before 6:30 on the 5th of August, which is when the league starts.
So maybe we ought to hammer that next week with the socials to get people involved, get the numbers up.
Have you said hammer because you're a West Hammer?
Oh, yeah, very good point. I am a West Ham fan, and I will appear for the first week of the fantasy football, and as Matthew already knows, disappear in week 2. So, as I have done for every fantasy football every year since it started.
So you've got this week to join. So we'll post the link up, and because by the time this goes out next week, it will be underway. I won't be here next week either. I'm off to sunny Spain.
Yeah.
Keri, you sound surprised. Didn't I tell you that?
No, I know that. Yeah.
Okay.
There's just me here always, isn't there? Basically.
You've had weeks off. Not many.
About 3 years ago.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. I realised actually I told you two that I am going to be here for the whole of August, but I lied because I forgot I'm going to see Hot Chip on Friday the 19th in a very tiny venue in Brighton. So,
Okay. Look out for Helen on the dance floor.
yeah.
Guys, thank you as always for a lovely week. I can't say the same to the script writers of The Archers. And yeah, we will be back next week, me and Keri, to talk shite. So thank you.
Yeah, see you next week.
See you, everyone. Bye.